All right, everybody, welcome in. I'm Stephen and Contreras from Compassionate Finance, CFI. I got my Do Good t-shirt on today, so you know it's Monday and you're ready for your new episode of Outstanding Balance. Today is episode 4, where we're going to be talking about financial conversations and some of the key tools that you can use to get the dentistry done. It's just kind of how Dr. Baird would probably put it. They're in the chair, so let's go ahead and do it. So without further ado, let's say hello to Dr. Baird. Hi, Dr. Baird. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Stephen. Thank you. This is a conversation that I don't know. It can be the most complicated conversation you can have in dentistry. I remember when I spent 4 years in the military. I got to do all the dentistry I wanted. I didn't have to worry about people paying for it. It was awesome. I just say, "Hey, you need to have this done." They'd say, "Great, let's do it." And it was like, so that was my early learning. Then I went into private practice and I had to tell them it was $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever it was. And what I can tell you is it totally, kind of freaked me out. And early on, I mean, when I first started 40 years ago, we were charging $240 for a crown. Today, 1,500. So things really have changed as far as not only the cost of dentistry, but kind of how we do dentistry. And and patients' ability to be able to pay. One of the things that I've seen very often from organized dentistry is they're saying there's an access to care problem. So we need to have more dental schools. We need more dental schools, so we need more dentists. When in fact, dental economics came out with a survey a year and a half, 2 years ago that said the average general dentist has 23% of their time open. And my belief is it's closer to 50% because the average dentist is producing about $425 an hour, which is about $3,300 a day. And if if that's the average dentist, my question is always, well, what are you doing after 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock? Personally, if I was producing what the average dentist was producing, I just have a tea time every day and just do my 3,300 by 10 or 11 and be done. Kind of jokingly, but I'm serious. The main reason that dentists have trouble is because of financial arrangements. Now, if they're a jerk, and they can't get patients to say yes to treatment, that's one thing. But I'm going to make the assumption that everybody's listening. We all try to be nice to our patients. We try to create raving fans. We try to get word of mouth advertising and getting people coming to our practice that have heard about the great things that we do in our practice. But it still comes down to giving the patient the damage estimate. Now, if you're doing comprehensive exams, and this is something that's happened in dentistry when we start talking about the financial options, this is what's happened in dentistry. 95% of all crowns that are done in the US are done one at a time. Why is that? Well, you may tell the patient you need to have 5 crowns. Bob, you need 5 crowns done. And the patient says, oh, okay, well, what will my insurance cover? Well, it's going to cover 1,500, Bob, and your portion is going to be 3,500. And they go, ooh, they may not say it outwardly, but they're going to go, ooh, okay. Well, nothing's hurting. Can we just do one? Have y'all ever heard that? You have, because 95% of the time, that's what happens. And so what your team says is, oh yeah, absolutely. No problem. We can do it. And the dentist is outside the room going, yay, we get to do a crown. The truth is, you're not helping the patient. And I've heard dentists say, and I've probably done it myself, well, let's use your insurance to the maximum benefit each year. And over the next 5 years, we'll get your 5 crowns done. That's total BS. I mean, you're not helping that patient. By the time they get 3 years down the road, number 12 is split in half. Now you're doing grafting and an implant. Maybe that's your strategy. I don't know, but it's not a good one. And it's not taking care of people the way you would want to be taken care of. So, and what ends up also happening, and it's happened across dentistry, is instead of doing the comprehensive exam and taking all this time, which it really truly doesn't take long, and we'll be talking about that in future webinars, but you just the dentist just quits telling the patients what they need and just kind of looks for the worst one. Okay, yeah, you need a crown on this, because they know the patient's going to say yes to that because they've heard that conversation so many times. What will my insurance cover? And so we're going to eliminate that. We're going to eliminate that because what we're going to say is something very different. I'm going to say, well, Bob, you could, but why would you? I mean, why don't we just do this? Why don't we just use your insurance as a down payment, and we can have convenient monthly payments of 80 to 100 bucks a month for the rest. Now, I've been doing this now for 10 years using compassionate finance, which I'll tell you a little bit about in a second. But we started the company 10 years ago, and I've been doing this for 10 years. I have never had a patient say no to that. Never. Because if you can get payments between 80 and 120 bucks, there's a 98% chance they're going to make all their payments. But let's go back to explain a little bit more about compassionate finance, because that's the thing. We don't have too many dentists. We have too few decent financial arrangements. But compassionate finance helps you do your own in-house financing. Okay. People say, oh, I'd never do that. Okay. Let me explain to you why you might want to change your mind about that. Number one, because people are going to be doing it down the street from you, and patients are going to be flocking to their offices. We've already seen that happen during COVID. Compassionate Finance Company has grown over 35% in the last 6 months, just because people need some other options. They just need help. So compassionate finance, what are the main reasons? And I tell this story in podcasts and everything else. Jeff Buski, my partner, we're driving down the road and he said, hey, Bruce, you think we could finance ortho if we got like 2,000 down? And we're driving, back from Dallas at an implant meeting. And I said, well, I don't know. It's a good question. How much do we have in it? Meaning, what are our costs for the brackets and all that stuff? He goes, we have $415 in it. I said, what do we charge? He goes, $6,000. I went, whoa. Well, that's pretty nice, what I call leverage. Okay. And we're letting people leave because they can't do it, or they may not qualify for conventional third-party financing, which, those guys approve the top maybe 40%, but who's taking care of the other 60%? The ones below the 660s with credit score. And so I'm immediately, in my mind, I started thinking, well, wait a minute. What about CERAC? I don't know if you guys have a CERAC machine, but what about CERAC? I've got a $35 block and I'm charging 1,500 bucks. And I'm letting people leave because they can't do it. Meaning those 5 crowns are only going to cost me $175 to do them. Oh yeah, Bruce, but we got to buy the machine. Well, trust me, if you're doing it this way, you'll be paying for that machine. In fact, you're going to have 3 milling machines and 2 capture units like we had in our practice, or that we have in our practice. So that way you can be milling all day and be making it happen. And so I began thinking about this, and I got home that night and I sat, and I love Excel spreadsheets. That's my pornography, man. I can run a business spreadsheet on Excel and just look at all of the variables and the scenarios. And what I realized was that interest offsets risk, something that banks have known for years. And so I started thinking, why have we never done this before? Why have we never done our own financing? Number one, we've been told not to do it. I've been one of the guys from the front of the room lecturing that says, nah, don't be the bank. Just let the bank be the bank. Let Synchrony Financial or Care Credit, let them be the bank. Let Wells Fargo, the bank, let them be the bank. Well, I was wrong. Number two, why we've never done it, we just don't know what the rules are. What are the rules if I want to do financing and charge interest? Well, they're different in all 50 states. So I went and spent the money, had a large attorney firm in Austin, Texas, come in and look at usury in all 50 states. And I'll tell you why that's important. I had a dentist in Michigan come to me, and I was lecturing about compassionate finance. And he came up to me and he said, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. I've been doing this for 20 years. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, 20 years I've been doing it. I said, man, that's awesome. And I know the rules in Michigan. So I asked him a simple question. I said, well, how much do you have? How many loans do you have? He goes, we have over 1.2 million in loans. I go, well, what's the interest rate? He goes, 18%. And I was like, wow. And I didn't say this in front of anybody, but later I said, hey, I want to talk to you afterwards. Well, I pulled him off to the side and I said, hey, by the way, in Michigan, you can't charge 18%. You can only charge 7%. And you can add another 2% for certain things, but that's the rules. And if one of your patients who's paying that, social media said they were getting ripped off by the interest, you could end up in a class action lawsuit. And next thing out of his mouth was, uh-oh, well, will y'all take them over? I said, no, we can't. They're all at 18%, but I would really, and he signed up for Compassionate Finance, has been using us ever since, and just let those loans bleed themselves out. But that's the point I'm making. It's important to understand that there are different rules and regs in every state. Now, 38 states, you can charge up to 18%, but there's 12 you can't. So you need to know that information. And we do. We've also been around 10 years. We're also, let's look at the third reason. The third reason is the reason, if you're listening, you're saying, well, why, if third-party finance isn't going to do it, why would I do it? And what if they don't pay me? That's the bottom line. What if they don't pay me? Well, the truth is you have different kinds of patients. There are A credit patients, B credit patients, C credit patients, D credit patients, and E's. We don't just look at their credit score. We also look into their checking history to see, do they write NSF funds all the time? Do they switch their bank accounts? And the truth is that over 90% don't do these things. They're pretty good with their money, but they're used to making monthly payments. They may have had something happen during the pandemic. They may have had something happen during the big financial downturn, 2008 to 2010, that affected their credit. They may be, a generation that doesn't have a lot of credit. The millennial generation, a lot of them just don't have credit. So we stepped back and we started looking at things differently. And what if they don't pay? The A patient, which is the best credit and great checking, they're going to default at less than 0.5%. You may charge them 9% interest, 9.9. The B defaults a little higher than that, about 4.5%. So now you're looking at them and you're saying, well, 4.5%, that's quite a bit, but you're charging them 11.9. And again, where it's permitted, we have best practices in every state. A C would be 13.9, a D would be 15.9, and an E would be 17.9. Why 17.9 for an E? People say, I never want to do an E. And as a matter of fact, I only want to go out 1 year. I don't want to go any more than that. I don't want them owing me money that long. Well, what happens is when you start to understand business modeling and you start to understand interest and how that works, you can now do all 5 of those grams at one time. And that patient's going to pay you $100 a month. It might be for 60 months at 17.9% interest. If they're an E, you'll say, well, they don't want to pay 17.9% interest. The people that are paying 17.9 deserve 17.9. They've proven it. A bank won't loan them money. They go to a pawn shop for money. But you don't want to charge them 17.9. They deserve it. If they want the dentistry done, you should charge them what you can, because they're going to default at 17.5%. And you're going to say, 17.5, I don't ever want to do those. No. Get your financial calculator out and figure 82.5% of those people are going to pay at 17.9% interest for an average of 39 months. Put that in your little deal. You're going to be making more than your usual and customary fee. It's going to be higher than your usual fee. So, and we have a dashboard that'll show you that. We've had patients say, oh, I'm quitting Compassion. They've been with us for 3 years. They go, yeah, we've had 2 people that didn't pay. I go, oh, wait a minute. Let's go look at your dashboard. We look at their dashboard. They're making 107% of their usual and customary fee, as opposed to an A patient, maybe paying 9.9 or 6.9 or 5.9, 5.9. We know they're great chance they're not going to default. That's why banks will loan them money. When do banks loan you money? When you don't need it. Exactly. So now you've got a situation where, you got a 5.9 or 11.6.9 or 7.9% interest for an A patient. We have a pretty good understanding they're going to pay. But let's figure if you're doing conventional financing, they're taking a 10% discount. You're taking a 10% discount. So they're giving you 90% of your usual fee. Whereas with compassionate finance, you're making 17%, a swing of 17%. You're making 7%. But even at a 0% interest, you're getting to do dentistry that you wouldn't have been able to do. What we also realized is when many of our clients quit taking third-party financing, guess what happened? They had a 63% increase in cash payers. If somebody's already got cash and you give them an offer 12 months interest free, just so that you can have a 10% discount, why would you do that? I mean, you just say, hey, we got payments and you can pay cash. We'll give you 4%, 5% discount. But why take a 10% hit? So that's what Compassionate Finance does all of the service for you. They do all the collections. You take it, it's written off. We do recommend, and this is really important, you want to get a down payment to cover your hard costs. Many times that's insurance, $1,500. Like on that Serac case with 5 crowns, I got $135 or $175 in it, and I'm getting $1,500 in cash. This is a no-brainer when it comes to helping people get more dentistry and get the dentistry that they deserve and that they can afford with convenient monthly payments. And that's what Compassionate Finance does. So you can go to, and when you have these conversations, and what I'd like to do, Stephen, is next week talk again about kind of the next level. How do I communicate this to the patient themselves? And then that way we can, it'll kind of be a 2-part series. So I'm going to call this part 1 because there's still a lot of stuff I want to talk about. So, but I think breaking it up into these 20-minute intervals and answering any questions at this point is probably a good way of doing that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was perfect. And I know we talked a little bit about this before, and I think just the mindset of where the patients are at, especially from COVID and different things like that. I mean, like people finance their car, their cell phone, their home, so many things. This is the way people are typically, paying for things these days. And like if anybody has a question, please go ahead and put one in the Q&A in the bottom, because I have a question for Dr. Baird. So we're kind of on the 1-year anniversary of Walmart, like nominating a head of dentistry for a big box retailer.
Yep.
So when I think of Walmart and I think of dentistry, I feel like there's going to be a new affordable market in play. And like, what do you think that will mean for dentists? Will they have to get kind of more competitive and think outside the box with pricing like Compassionate Finance does? Or
well, Walmart kind of closed most mom and pop operations around the country. I don't think that's going to happen in dentistry. We always look at things based on affordability, and as opposed to price. Walmart looks at things based on price. You can buy it cheaper on Amazon, cheaper on Walmart. So people look at just price, and they've been conditioned to price. Now, when we look at dentistry, people know it's expensive. But the problem is there really are no options. Most people they go, well, you need $6,000. Well, sorry, go talk to your parents, go talk to the bank, go see if you can get a loan. When in fact, they don't even have, the patient might've said, well, I've saved $2,000, or they've got $1,500 in insurance, plus they've saved $2,000. We'll take that as a down payment and allow you to make these monthly payments. And it actually pandemic proofs your practice. We had doctors that were making 40 grand a month off of work they did 4 years ago. And literally it's coming in. What happens when someone defaults? Well, we work them for 120 days. What we recommend and what we're doing now is we're going to be aggregating all that bad debt, and hopefully you'll get paid a little something for it. So we're just in the process of negotiating that right now. So for all of our docs, what we've done, we're closing in on $300 million worth of notes for dentists. It's not my note, it's your note. And when it's your note, you can use that for collateral at the bank. You can use those, when I say notes, we have docs that have 150, 200 cases where they've done it and they've got Compassionate paying them, or the patient paying. And so that's how that works. So it worked good.
Absolutely. And like there was kind of a real sea change moment I've seen in some of the Facebook groups in May and April. and June a little bit when practices were closed and people are kind of comparing notes and seeing what are you doing here, what are you doing there, and compassionate finance doctors are saying, well, I'm getting paid because these patients are, even if they maybe had lost their dental insurance or were on unemployment with that enhanced unemployment, they were still making those payments. So a lot of those doctors had income coming in even when their practices were closed. So I think
Well,
that
I
was
was really amazed at the high percentage of pay, of payers. And that was, that was awesome. I mean, that was really good. Um, I see a question from Richard. What do you charge for your service? Do you do the tax forms connected to this income? Great question, Richard. Here's the deal. We charge, we're going to have a special deal, but I mean, we charge $199 a month. We've been charging $1,500 as a setup fee. I know we've waived that during this COVID time. $199 a month, so you can do unlimited credit checks. And we charge 0.5% of the outstanding balance that you have. Meaning, if you have $100,000 in balance on your loans, you're going to pay us around $500 to work it. If you've got 500,000, be paying 2,500 to work it. So we're going to take a percentage. You could also figure it as part of the interest. On an e-patient, we may be taking 6 or 7% of the 17.9 interest, but you're also getting to do the work. And something really important for you to remember or to know is that these patients weren't going to do that work. They couldn't because you had no financial arrangements for them. So what they were going to do is go down to what I call the cheapo depot, or they're going to go down to Walmart and have it done. And that's exactly what we see happening. I like to talk about the commoditization of dentistry. And the reason dentistry has become a commodity is because everybody has become price sensitive when it comes to dentistry. How much do you charge for a crown? How much do you charge? How much do you do this? Whereas when you build value in your business, when you build value in your story of your business, that you use top labs and you have a nice facility and it's technology driven and all that, people would rather go there and have the work done if they could have some affordable monthly payments. And if they could, they're going to do the work for you. We've seen that in our practice. We probably, and I market to people who, I mean, truthfully, our reputation in our town is that we're the best dentist around and we're the most expensive. So when people do come to see us, they kind of already have an idea it's going to be costly. Now, I'm not saying that's bad or good. It is what it is, but we have convenient monthly payments that they can make. So we've probably done $1.2 million to $1.5 million over the last 8 years in compassionate finance. And we probably have 50,000 that's defaulted. I could care less. I don't worry about the defaults because I have so much coming in off of the interest off of the patients that are paying. So I hope that answers your question. You can also go to compassionatefinance.com/offer to look at exactly what the deal is. I don't even know what the deal is right now.
No, you hit it right on the head. So he can give Compassionate Finance a trial until November 1st. So pay nothing, get your team trained, get on board. You can even start offering Compassionate Finance as soon as you're trained. So we could get that done this week and you could be off to the races, try it out for a couple of weeks, and then you won't have your first payment until November 1st. Or if you choose not to go forward, you can do that as well. But I think this will be a real benefit for you. And it's in the chat, and I'll also send that in that email, Richard, so you can connect with us there as well.
Well, patients need help, and especially now, and it really is about monthly payments. I ask people all the time. I ask doctors all the time. And teams when I'm lecturing, what kind of car would you be driving if you had to pay cash? And, I see people snickering and laughing. And then every once in a while I see a, dentist going, well, I'll just buy the car. I'm a rich dentist. Well, that's fine. But I know a lot of dentists, and I'm one that I buy my car, I lease them, and I know I'm getting hosed. Although I just did buy from the leasing company my Lexus LS 460 and I owe nothing. I'm so excited. I don't even have a payment, but everybody's used to payments. What kind of house would you live in if you didn't have monthly payments? And so the average person in the United States only has $4,000 in their savings account. And all of us out there in dentistry are fighting for the exact same patients. Who are they? The top 40% who third-party financing can offer them money. because half now and half when you see it doesn't work anymore. That's old school. Can you go talk to your mom and dad? Yeah, you can probably do that. That might work. Can you have somebody co-sign on a loan at the bank? I don't want to ask people those questions. So I'll talk next time specifically about how I present it to the patient and how my team presents it to the patient and how we get them to say yes to treatment, which is very easy when you have great financial arrangement. So anyway, if there's no other questions, let's do it next week. And Richard, you can always send me a question to my email address, bruce@productivedentist.com. More than happy to answer any other questions you have.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll see y'all back here next week for Outstanding Balance episode 5. And everybody have a good week. Don't really have any sports comments this week, I guess. Bevan is in the chat though, and her TCU Horned Frogs did kind of upset Texas in a pretty interesting final play. So shout out to our TCU alumnus here in the chat.
Well, I'm a Cowboy fan, so we're not talking today. So it's good. Richard, you're welcome, buddy. All right. Thanks. Talk to you guys next week. Yay, go Frogs.